Hey everybody, welcome back. Michigan Outdoorsman here. My name is Jeremiah Velpetik. Today I'm wearing a mic. I finally picked one up. You'll have to let me know how much better it is for you. So I'm pretty excited to start putting back into the channel a little bit and getting you guys some better quality, a little bit here at a time. So today I wanted to show you guys my new latest air gun. This is a long time coming. I had to sell 3 of my air rifles to get this gun, because I didn't want to spend any more money. Essentially, I just wanted to take the money that I had invested in other guns that this gun would replace in general, and then buy this rifle with this. So that's what I did. I ended up selling 3 of my guns. 2 of them were on eBay and 1 was to a friend. And then I picked up this FX Impact M3. It comes just like this in the case. It comes with the case. That's super cool. And I tell you what, when I first pulled this air gun out, like the quality and construction of it is so different from any other air gun that I've ever held in my entire life. Like, this really is something different, guys. Okay, like I've probably had 7 or so air rifles in my time of just getting into them, and this is the first air gun that I just picked up and said, wow, like this just feels like quality, okay? And there's just something about it. It's so rigid, there's no flex. So this is basically how the rifle comes. This is in 25 caliber. I added this rear angled block when I bought this rifle. I bought the angled gauge here to the side because this right here is monitoring my second regulator, which is the pressure that sends the pellet out the barrel basically. And this gauge here is usually on the bottom right here. Well, that is kind of counterintuitive because then you got to flip the gun over to look at your pressure to see if you're still within your limit. And I like to just have something at a glance telling me, hey, I'm lower than what I should be or something like that, which I know you have other gauges. This gun's got a lot of gauges, okay? You got another gauge here. Obviously, you can see that one right there. So there's just a ton of information going on this gun. That being said, I'm not going to pretend like I know what I'm talking about on this rifle, because this rifle here is out of my realm when it comes to experience, okay? I don't deal with these guns. I've never touched one before. I haven't even watched YouTube videos on them. I take that back. I've watched hunting videos. I've seen what they're capable of. I've seen how they're like the best gun to get basically for the modularity and then the accessories and then the quality, it seems like, the shot counts, the power. Like, these are kind of like the king of the hill when it comes to air guns, is the FX air gun lineup. And obviously there's some debate on that, but in my opinion, these seem to be some of the better quality, better built air guns. So what I figured I would do is start a series on mine, of course, like I do everything else. And there's tons of videos you can watch out there to learn how to do what I'm going to do. And you can either watch my channel or somebody else's, but I figured we'd go through this together and build this rifle the way I want it, because I am looking for power, obviously, but then also the highest shot count if I can get it as well. So I do have upgrades eventually coming for this rifle. I haven't bought anything yet, but I do want to eventually upgrade the tank to a 310 bar fill 700cc tank. This is a 580, so I can get more shots per fill essentially. So that will be in the future. I did get the angled block, like I already mentioned. I did put that on. I didn't think that was worth videoing because it's pretty simple. But today we'll be putting on this Impact slug kit. This will come with the tungsten hammer. We're going to see what kind of power this adds right off the bat. I haven't changed a thing to this rifle. So this rifle here is just set up the way they sell it to you. I'm guessing that's how it arrived at my door. So we're going to shoot through the chrony first, see what kind of velocity we're getting, foot-pounds of energy. And then we're going to put the slug power tune in there, not mess with anything else, just shoot it. See if it makes a noticeable increase. I know there's a ton of adjustment you got to do on these rifles to get them where you want them to be. If you're one of those guys that like to tinker, this is that rifle, and I'm that type of guy, so this is going to be awesome. I decided to pair it with the Element Optics, the Titan. This right here is kind of like their mid-tier scope. I will say that I'm not as impressed as I thought I would be by the scope based on its weight and its tactile feel of the turrets. Like, it's just not quite what I was expecting. I was hoping for something just a little bit better, but it is what it is. We'll be using the Arkin Optics, the 20 MOA cantilever mount for now, just because my FX no limit rings, which are super cool, I've never used them yet, but I've seen them, they're awesome. I will be putting those on this rifle once they arrive, but they got back ordered after I bought them. So we have 3 pellets right now. I have 3 different pellets. We have more coming, but this is just what arrived with the rifle. I got some H&N slugs. These are 30 grains. Some rifle slug series. These are 46 grains, just about. And then these are the Wildman slugs. I think they're from the UK or something like that. And they are 39 grains. So we're going to shoot 3 shots out of every single tin, right through the crony, to show you what the gun's capable of right out of the box. And then we're going to add the slug power tune kit in there, and then shoot it again and see what it does. So let's get right into that. All right, so we got our mag loaded up with the 30 grain H&Ns. I got them wrote down here. We haven't shot them through the crony yet, but the crony's set up and ready to go. We're gonna do them in weight ascending order. We got Wildman. Then we got rifle slug. And those were 46 grain. So let's do a walk around on this rifle real quick just to show you what's going on with this thing. It's pretty cool. So here's what it comes with, how it came to my house with the settings, okay? Power wheel is set at 16. The quick tune system set at 3 almost. 2.75. Our first regulator is at 170 bar. My fill pressure. And then there's my rear regulator set at 100 bar. These gauges are really nice and easy to see. So, there we go. We'll load up a pellet, a slug I guess. It does come with the included suppressor, which I think is super sweet, and it is really quiet. And this trigger is amazing. Okay, so that was 850 feet per second. $852. $842. So that's pretty consistent, in my opinion. We're gonna go do the Wildmans. So we had 850. Loading this mag's pretty simple. You've probably seen it on other videos. Rotate it till it stops. Drop a pellet in, let it come forward, and it'll catch on the pellet or slug, whatever you're shooting. These are 39 grain Wildman slugs. And this magazine concept is pretty slick. It's just that I gotta take a second to get used to it, I guess. Okay, 39 grains, here we go. 733. 735. 726. That click you hear is that mag indexing. Won't let you load it again, which is awesome. Then you know when you're out of ammunition without having to always check your mag. Now, these are really heavy. I'm really excited to try these out because I mean you can get some massive foot-pounds of energy out of these guys. So these are the rifle slug series, the 46 grains, and they are just ginormous. I wondered how they would do fitting in the magazine, but the magazine has a little slot milled out, so it looks like it'll fit just fine. We'll find out. They do rattle, I think. I think that's them rattling, so we'll see. 628. $6.25, and $6.33. Now this rifle, remind you, is bone stock, because you can take this barrel out, flip it for pellet and slug. I think the barrel's still probably set at pellet, but I don't actually know. All right, so as you've seen it, we have our numbers that we started with. Let's tear this rifle apart. I will do an in-depth overview of this whole thing so you can see how it comes apart for yourself. We'll put the slug power tune kit in. We're gonna rotate the barrel. If it's on pellet, I'll show you that on video, but there's bigger transfer ports for the air to flow if you have a pellet or a slug. If you're shooting either one, you can take the barrel and rotate it 180 degrees and shoot one or the other. I think this rifle comes from the factory with the pellet liner turned down so it can shoot pellets. So we might even be able to get better velocities just by turning the slug liner over, okay? So, but we're just gonna do it all at once, so I'm not gonna be sure how much more better you could get by just turning it 90 degrees, or 180, I mean. So we're gonna move into that next. Let me just reset up some cameras. We'll get right to it. All right, so we're going to take this top rail off, but I'm gonna fast forward once we're doing the removal just because I wanna keep the video short. You're going to need a 4mm for this screw here, and then a 2.5 for these two in the rear. We're gonna take this off. This cheek piece here is 2.5mm as well. Take those off. Then we're gonna take this top plate out as well, which I believe is 2.5mm, we'll find out. And then we gotta take this barrel, slide the barrel out by removing this set screw here, which I think is a 3mm. Yep. So I'm gonna fast forward all of that. We're gonna unscrew it, pull it out. I'm not even degassing the gun as of right now. I will remove the bottle, I guess, because safety first. So we'll take the bottle off, we'll degas it, then we'll do all this. All right, so we got the air gun degassed, barrel's off. There's a lot of little screws to take off. We're just left with this little guy here. So what we're looking for is to get this assembly off here. And I'm going to take out this valve adjuster here. So that's your heavy spring that we will be replacing in the kit. And it looks like we're gonna need a wrench to take this little piece right there in the end off. From a video I've seen, it's 11mm. They say to use the box end so you don't crush it. That wasn't super tight. So there's this little pin in here. I want to measure how far off that is because I'm not entirely sure if that's crucial or not. So just to be on the safe side, I'm going to measure it with some micrometers. So I just took a measurement off the front of that using my calipers, and I've got 210 thousandths of an inch with that being stuck back as far as it can. Now we're going to pull it out. I'm not sure if that's what's releasing the air in the plenum, if that's what it's doing. So I'm gonna get some vice grips on that. Just found some really smooth jaw. Put it right in there. I can almost have this on the other one, because I don't want that to scar it up. All right, so what I did for this, I clamped on my little channel locks, vice grips, took a 1.5 millimeter Allen wrench and stuck it right into this little hole on this valve here, and kind of using that to work it off. And then I checked it, it actually gets tight, so as long as you go back to tight, I think you'd see the same depth, but we'll find out. So yeah, I didn't actually have to bite on this at all. I'm not sure if tooling marks will hurt. I'm sure it's got to hurt something, so the less we can be aggressive with it, the better. Okay, so I just cocked back this action, and the hammer and everything kicked out forward, so not sure if that was a good thing or a bad thing yet. I did watch a couple of videos on this, so I'm just going off everybody else. Here's how it came out. Here's my little hammer, and here's the tungsten we'll be replacing it with. Much, much heavier. Then we're going to try to shove that back as far as possible. I'm not sure if it had to slide up over this hammer system. There's a spring back in there. This looks like a retention of some sort. I'll just take this little guy off. What this will afford me. Take that off. Whole thing comes off. That would have been nice to know. Okay. So that's what you should have done. Tungsten hammer now in place. Putting it back over the spring. Shove it back in there as far as I'll go. Which is apparently right to there. I broke something loose, which I'm not sure how much trouble I'm going to be into for that. I wonder if I was just Loctited in. Make sure you don't lose any of your little washers, your little plastic. Okay, you can do this assembly now, which I might just do, because I think it's going to be easier to change out the hammer spring right now, or the pellet probe. So you just seen all that went down. I took this screw out here. I don't want to turn this too many turns, because I'm sure that depth means something. But let's take this back off, because this is what we're trying to get to anyways, at the end of the day. You guys can see that all right. So there's our standard pellet probe. We got a really, really tiny set screw here, it looks like. It's very tight, of course. Probably gonna end up stripping it out. Yep, stripped it out. That right there is no fun. So if yours strips out like mine did, try going a size up. I just went with a standard size instead of metric. And then beat it in a little bit. This feels really, really tight. Wow, that is just twisting the Allen wrench. That is insane. That Allen wrench will probably snap before that screw gets loose, so we'll have to heat it up. So I'm gonna get some WD-40 and then a torch, a lighter, something to give it some gentle heat, I guess. See if we can draw that WD-40 into the threads. And try heating that up. That's ridiculously too tight. So just like that, I mean, I fast forwarded the entire thing, but you get the idea. A little bit of WD-40 and some heat. And unfortunately, we're going to have to reuse this because I don't have another set screw like that. But hey, that's how you get it out, okay? So there's a little trick for yourselves if you didn't know that. It's not, I haven't burnt myself yet, but I don't want to. Okay, so pellet probe's out, and I'm glad we had it out of the rifle like this because that would have sucked trying to torch it between all this webbing of the buttstock of the original rifle. Here's the pellet probe. Here's an O-ring. Oops, didn't pick it up. I don't know if we're supposed to use both, or it's just a spare if you lose it. Let's see what kind of room we have for this O-ring here. Yep, just one O-ring will go on there. I'm going to use a 25 caliber liner. It's chamfered at both ends, so I can't actually tell the difference of which side should go where. It's tight. Okay. Let's go into the block just like this. Yeah, they had some kind of thread locker in there because I could see it boiling with the heat. Okay, now I'm going to attempt to get this little sucker out of here. We're going to keep it loose. I'm trying hard not to bend anything because this is really delicate. Okay. So we'll let the pellet probe just kind of free float for now until we get it wherever we want it, because it is adjustable at the rear end. Okay, let me change the camera angle for you guys. I know it's got that there. Pull this up here. We got the hammer, the tungsten hammer put in place. I want to make sure we have all my little wipers. I'm calling these wipers. That's kind of what they are. They essentially excuse me, sorry. They just create a smooth sliding surface so you don't wear out so you're not going metal on metal. It's like a friction reducer, so to speak. Reduces the friction. So we're going to slide that over that. Put my screw back in. And there is no thread lock tight that I can tell. Kind of get that block squared up with the rear end that's been milled into it. Okay, now we have this spring here. This was the old one. You can tell there's, by feeling it, this one here is a lot more stiffer. This is a lot easier to move, much more pliable. That's gonna be hard to stick on. We're gonna thread that on. It's not going right now. I'm going to put this on. We took this off just so we could allow the hammer to slide over it, basically. I have to remind myself because it's been so long. Tighten this up. 1.5. Doesn't need to be super tight, just snug, because you got really tiny threads. You'll just destroy it if you go too tight. Really need a gun vise. Okay, that back in where it's at. Let's see what we got for a measurement. See if something changes. And no, it did not. We're still at 210 thousandths. So there's that. We'll put this back on. And just snug it up. Now you put this in here. Now they give us this ball to put in, which I'm not going to. Some people said to do it, some people said not to. I'm just going to try it without it, see what happens. I might regret it, I might not, I don't know. Throw this on. Put it to 2, I guess. I don't know where to put it, really. Not having shot this a lot. Okay. Now here's our barrel. Here's what I was talking about earlier. Okay. I pulled it out just like this. You see the S right there? Let me see if I can focus on that for you. That's for slug. Look how big that port is. You flip it over, that's pellet. It's really small. You see a little notch? You should feel that notch line up with the, there's something in the back that will line it, I guess. A little, you can kind of see it, see the rear end of that pellet loading port right in there when you have this back all the way. But we're going to slide the barrel back in with the slug facing down so we get the transport air pressure we need. Try and do it nice and gentle so we don't cut any O-rings. And that's why I kind of left this snug. So we can align everything up to it. Try to be really careful, it's so scary. Okay, so right there it is. There it is all lined up. Oops, that wasn't so good. I forgot that barrel weight's on there. Okay, so barrel's installed. Let me pan out to a full view here. I feel like we've been all over the place on this rifle just trying to do one little tiny thing. There's your barrel installed. This right here, I spun 180 degrees so these screws are facing down again. I don't know if that really matters, but I did it because I wanted to. Barrel's back, and you can feel there's not really any give, so it's where it needs to be. That's good to know. Yep, and I can see it, the barrel's back in there now. So we can lock the barrel down. And this was not very tight. So I'm just going to do gently on that. Now we are going to put my top plate on after I just verify. So I left this screw in the back here loose so I could get the barrel through, so we need to make sure that gets tightened back up. Very important. I'm trying to look, there's nothing else that needs to be tightened that I can tell. So now we'll put this top plate back on so it keeps everything rigid and in line. It is a little nerve-wracking taking apart a brand new gun that I've never done before. And this will help keep all this just nice and tight and straight. Just like anything with multiple screws, you want to make sure you get them all started before you tighten any of them. That way you don't cross thread. This will help you align each hole up, each thread up, everything. So you just want to get them all started. Once they're all started, you can start tightening them down. These are all fairly tight to where I had to break them loose, essentially. So I'm going to get them just a bit past snug. There's probably some kind of torque spec for it, but I don't know what it is. I'm just going to go by feel. That usually can get you really, really good. Okay, now we'll get in these two bit clamps here. That's a 3mm. Which these are loose from factory. I'm not entirely sure why they were loose. Just gonna get them snug. Not trying to crush the barrel. So there is the rifle. I'm going to fast forward all this because I don't have a lot of time or space for my camera. All right, so I did one step a little too quick. We're going to, after this is all put on, bolt close, doesn't have to be cocked. Add up a little marker point to the beginning of your barrel on your pellet probe. We need to mark this to show just how far we're seating the pellets. Very important. So we got that. I'm going to actually break my barrel band that I just tightened loose. Break this right here loose. Go way looser than that. I'm going to pull the barrel back out. Because what we were trying to do is see just how far this pellet probe is seating the pellets. Now what we can do is adjust our buttstock, pull it down, lock it again, open this up till we get to the port where we can see the screw at. Take that set screw out. Drop the pellet probe out of the rear. And I just made that little mark there. We're going to line up the mark. Essentially, we want to see that it's pushing the pellet past the port opening, which it looks to me like it is, absolutely. So our pellet is clearing the porthole, okay? That's what we want. So make sure you do that. Get that set. Man, I'm so scared to do this. Okay, barrel seated. We'll lock it in place back here. Oop, man. Get that nice and snug. We'll take our pellet probe. Insert it back into the spot. I'm going to use my 1.5 millimeter to line the hole in the set screw back up. Now, you could probably do some medium strength Loctite if you want. I feel like there's still enough on there that I can feel the resistance. I don't think it's going to go anywhere, so I'm just going to get it snug using the long end so I don't over torque it, okay? Just like that. So there we are, tungsten hammer. Tungsten hammer install, slug port turned down. I'm going to put the rest of the accessories on top of this rifle, and then we're going to shoot it. Okay, everything's installed. We just filled up the gun with the air, no leaks. We are going to fire for the first time together the H&N 30 grain slugs. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention, because I just had this happen to me, is my pellet probe is sticking past this side here. Will not allow me to insert a magazine. So we're going to adjust that. Essentially, we're going to drop this stock down, loosen the set screw, and turn. There's a screw in the rear here out, just till it clears this. That way we can get the longest pellet insertion possible. All right, so I just adjusted mine to where you cannot see that pellet pin sticking through, like it was sticking through probably about that much. So I just made it so you can get the mag in. Now, I did talk about making sure your pellets can go through that liner port on your barrel, and I know mine will still because I only backed it out like 3 revolutions. But if you weren't sure, you could always just take the barrel back out and remeasure. So there you have it. That's my Impact M3. I will start playing around with power tunes and accuracy coming here shortly. I want to wait for those Nelson's specialty slugs to show up because I want to use a specific weight. I actually want to use 2 weights, one for shooting small game like birds and squirrels so I get the higher shot counts, and then I want like a 40-ish grain to maybe higher than that, like a 45 or something for coyotes and stuff like that. I don't really know yet, but that's what I'm thinking I'll be doing, is having 2 different weights that I know what my micro and macro on the wheels are and regulated pressures, and I'll be able to set to that hunt almost, tune to that hunt, and then go hunting from there with that power. So that's kind of my plans for the future. We'll see if that's what really happens. I'll have to just figure all that out once I see what kind of shot count I get when I'm chasing high power versus low power. So thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe and like my videos. I'm going to set up a scope on this rifle next, and we'll go from there. I'll see you in the next one.